What's up and welcome back to another live stream unboxing with GizmoSlipTech. It's a glorious day. We have the HP Omen RTX 4090 in this box, and I did set it up, just did a quick basic driver install updates and installed a bunch of games. So the unit I have here is not quite the base model for 2749. The base model for 2749 comes with an i7 processor, i7-13700HX, and a full HD display. The one I have here today comes with the i7 processor and a QHD 165Hz, I believe. So this cost me a little bit more than the $2749 base price, but I did also get, I think, a 2 terabyte SSD in this. So there's a lot of value in this laptop for sure. At least specs on paper is insane with this laptop. Like, it is definitely like the base model of this RTX 4090 is cheaper than almost like 2/3 of the 4080 laptops that are out there. So it is absolutely nuts. There is a link in the description if you want to check out where you can buy this. So I am yeah, if you do use that link, right, it does help support me as a content creator because it's an affiliate link. So thank you very much if you do use that, but there's no pressure to necessarily buy this laptop. There are lots of good options out there from Asus, especially some great ones from MSI, some really great laptops this year for sure. And we're going to talk about, we're going to start off by talking about what are the best competitors to the Omen 17. And the most important thing you got to keep in mind with this laptop is that you are making a number of trade-offs when you choose the Omen 17. The biggest one, I think, is probably the fact that you're not getting a 16:10 ultra bright, ultra high color gamut display, right? Like, this display is good. It's plenty good, but it's really not it's not the next level display. Like, it's a really good display. Like, the top display is what we were seeing from basically a year and a half, 2 years ago is what we're seeing in this laptop. But that's partially why this laptop is so much more affordably priced, because you're not paying for that 500 nit display, you're paying for a 300 nit display. And we are going to be doing a display test to see exactly how bright this display actually is, right? Because we don't really know. I mean, they say 300 nits, but sometimes it's 350, sometimes it's 280. You know, it really does have a lot of variability there. I'm thinking that this thing is, my initial thoughts, right, is that the Omen 17 is perfect for someone who's not super picky about display quality, or maybe someone who's just planning out of the box to use this with an external display, like the giant display I have behind me. This laptop should be able to power a display like this. This is a QHD ultra wide, so this is like 5120 by 1440p 240 hertz. This laptop should be able to power that display really well and play really great games. So almost all the RTX 4090s this year should be able to use a display like that, as long as there's a DisplayPort 1.4 out from the laptop. Yeah, so let's talk about the best. Let's talk about the best competitors to the Omen 17. So this is basically right around or just under the $3,000 price point. So jumping over to our laptop list here. This is a laptop list I've spent like many hours putting together, and I've hired a team of people to help me manage this list. We update this top deals section every day, and right now the Omen 17 is on a $200 off sale. So that's awesome, I think. I actually need to call HP and be like, hey, can I get a $200 refund on my Omen? Because I mean, I paid full price for mine. And yeah, so without a sale, no sale, the full HD version of this should be $2749 with an i7 processor. So full HD display, i7. I believe it's currently sold out. So right now, the cheapest RTX 4090 version, I believe, is $2949 for the current, but that comes with an i9 processor and a QHD display instead of a full HD display and an i7. So overall, really tremendous potential bang for the buck. Now, the Aorus 17H is one of the top competitors for under $3,000, at least in terms of which ones are currently in stock and you could actually order. You know, the Aura 17H is one that I plan on reviewing sometime this year, probably the next month or two. But it's got a 4080. It's only 150 watt though, right? That's not amazing. It's got an i7 13700H, so again, not as amazing. And it's only a full HD display, but 360 hertz, so excellent for esports type of gaming. And this guy's also a bit chunkier than some of the competition out there, but it's very competitively priced at $22.99. Like, that's a very good deal. That's even cheaper than the Omen 17, which is the 4080 version right here. 175 watt, by the way, for the 4080 and 4090 in this laptop. And yeah, this at least has a QHD display. You can get this with a 240 hertz display, but the base is 165 hertz or a full HD, I believe 240 or 165 hertz, depending on what you get. And the key thing here, though, is that for $40 more, you can go to QHD 240 hertz. I believe it's the same quality of display, though. So if you do want to go to where you can buy this, then you can just click this link, USA #1, and this will take you over to HP's website where you can configure this. So there's a link in the description down below to both this configuration page as well as my gaming laptop list. So once you're here, you can hit customize and buy, and we can go ahead and go through what options you have. So by default, it comes with Windows 11 Home. You can pay for the 11 Pro if you need the upgrade. Right now, the base $23.99 price includes an i9-13900HX. This is a 24-core 32-thread part. That's not what I have in my Omen 17 in this box. I have an i7-13700HX. So that's the cheaper price config, but it's currently sold out. You can't get that right now, like I said, because it's currently sold out. So between these two processors, the i7 and the i9, the i7 should be just as good at gaming, maybe just a hair, tiny little bit slower for gaming, but basically the same performance for gaming. But for multi-core rendering and workloads, that's where the i9 processor should be noticeably better with its additional E-cores. Just total core count goes up, I believe, by 8 going to the i9 versus the i7. The 16 gigs of DDR5 5600 megahertz RAM was not available when I ordered mine. It was DDR5 4800 when I ordered mine. So that's another difference in specs and potentially in pricing. I imagine the 4800 is a little bit cheaper option here, but at least we're getting 5600 in the new units. That should be even faster than what I have in the unit I have with me today. So you can get a 17.3-inch QHD 2560 by 1440, so 16 by 9. Or you can get a 240 hertz version for $40 more. And if it was me, I would definitely spring for the $40 more 240 hertz option. But that said, 165 hertz QHD is still very good. Display this year, it's just not an ultra high-end premium 500 nits 100% DCI-P3 color gamut display, but it should still be very good. That's the thing. Like, this is the way you can save some money, basically by having a display downgrade, not a 16 by 10, but going 16 by 9. Overall, I think that this is still a very interesting upgrade. Now, I did get this 2 terabyte PCIe NVMe upgrade because I do need to install tons of games. So I went ahead and be like, I'm going to get the 2 terabytes so it's easier for me to install and manage all the games on here. But yeah, so the base price for the 4080 is $23.99 right now. And I believe today or tomorrow is the last day of this sale. So $200 off right now, and then the prices will go back up. So $29.49 right now for the 4090 version of this, but it has the upgraded i9 processor and upgraded RAM speed compared to what I'll be testing today. All right. So overall, let's go over a couple more competitors to this Omen 17. So the best way you can use this laptop spreadsheet is by simply going in here and filtering by price. So let's say that you want to go between, let's do 3,000 at the highest end, and we're gonna do 25, let's do 2490. So that way we get all of the $2,500 laptops. All right, so we're gonna sort by price. And I'm sorry, guys, I know that I'm doing this on the draft, which I'm not supposed to be doing. Okay, so these are the competitors in the $3,000 price point. Volume is low. Sound is good, but volume is low. Gotcha. I can try upping it just a little bit more. All right, talking. I should be loud enough now. I just don't want to be peaking onto my audio. So, okay. All right. So, looking at our values here, the Blade 16 has a 4070 at the same price. You're paying more for a 4070 than with a 4090 with the Omen, right? That's pretty insane. The Scar 16, much better display, but you're only getting DDR5 4800 and a RTX 4080 instead of a 4090 for the same price, which may be worth it for the upgraded display, though, and additional portability that the Scar 16 has. Depends. I would say the Omen 17 also has a lot better ports than the Scar 16. Alienware M18, you can get a 4080 175 watts. Let me zoom in a little bit. And let me try changing the view. Okay, so here's another way to look at this, right? So the Omen 17 right here for $29.49. This is the guy we're looking at. Basically, very similar build to what I've got or what you could currently buy. The Blade 16 is definitely way less value, but you get the metal aluminum chassis. The Scar 16, let's go all the way over. So the Scar 16, this has only a 4080 for just a little bit less, but 32 gigs of RAM. Definitely a good option potentially in this price category because of the display quality. The Alienware M18 i9-13900HX, again, only a 4080 instead of a 4090. So basically with the Omen 17, you're getting like an upgrade for the 4090 with a lower quality display. Those are the two biggest trade-offs that you're getting compared to these other laptops. That said, the Alienware M18 actually has the same display, but it is for $50 more, you're getting a 4090 instead of a 4080. So really just way better bang for the buck in my view. The Blade 18 coming with an RTX 4060 for $28.99. I would not recommend that in terms of value or bang for the buck. The Scar 17 with a 4080 and the Ryzen 9 7945HX is $28.99. So again, I still think the value is so much better with the Omen 17, at least in theory. And the display is going to be about the same quality on the Scar 17 since it's only a 300 nits QHD display. And then we have the Blade 15, which is going to come with a 4070 for $27.99, not even close. The Mech 17 GP2, whoops, that's a little too far. Go back. Go back a little more. So Mech 17 with an i9 and 4070. So you can get a Mech 17 with a 4070 for $27.99. Again, so much better deal with the Omen 17. MSI Stealth 17 Studio, RTX 4080 105 watts, so very low wattage. Again, costing a little bit less, or about in the same ballpark though. The Zephyrus M16, I don't know if this is actually the correct pricing. This seems a little, this seems like it's the 4080 variant instead of the 4090. I think this is probably an error. If Kaylin or Ellie are watching this, probably got to change this to a 4080, probably. The GE78 for $26.99 with a 4070. Again, so here's a good competitor right here, Aorus 17X. So a little more premium, all metal build, QHD 240 hertz, high color gamut display. This thing is going to be thinner. It's going to be lighter than what we got in the Omen 17, but it's only a 4080 175 watt here. So $26.99 here. So this is another, I think, potentially good option versus the Omen 17. So I think that covers pretty much all the competitors to the Omen 17, at least in this close ballpark. And basically nothing is coming with an RTX 4090 under $3,000 at all. Like I think the Legion Pro 7i is the next least cheap RTX 4090, and I think it's like 3150 or 3200, something like that. But yeah, so, and that one also has some compromises I'm not sure about until I actually get it in person. Anyway, so this is the box that the Omen came in, and this was the outer layer of the box, okay? I don't love that. I wish HP sent a extra outer layer because this is not very much protection for the laptop in my opinion. That's my first criticism of the HP unboxing so far. Let's go ahead and dive into this unboxing now. I mean, I like the way it's packaged in the box itself, right? It's like, it's got this nice flap, it's got a carry handle, you lift it up, and there's your Omen power brick over here, and the laptop's right here. Like I said, I did install and update the drivers on this and installed a bunch of games so we could test games today in this live stream. Now we've got this nice holographic Omen logo right here. I think it does look really good. When it catches the right light, it looks really awesome, I think. Now it is an entirely plastic chassis as far as I can tell, plastic all around. And I'm not necessarily against that as long as it's high quality plastic that's not going to come apart on you. Now, I go ahead and open this guy up. We do have a plastic or a microfiber keyboard cover. Let's go ahead and just set this guy to the side for right now and take a look at the power brick. So here is the power brick. And the power brick is such an interesting and weird design to me. It's this square. It's like this square box. I don't love it. I don't love it. I mean, it feels kind of premium, but it's pretty large. We'll get out the other power bricks and have it next to it here. Let's go ahead and take the plastic off. Whoa. All right, and then, so power brick cable length. This guy is about 3.5 feet. It's not very long. I wish this guy was a little longer. And then this cable is almost 6, probably 5 feet. This cable's probably 5 feet. So the overall cable length is definitely shorter than I would like. I wish there was another 1.5 feet, 2 feet on this cable, if I'm being honest, right? Here is the Razer power adapter. Obviously very small comparatively speaking. And so there's the Razer. And here is that's the Titan Alienware. So this is the Alienware M16, Alienware M18, and the GT77. All use this one. Overall, I think this one still is better sized than the GT77, right? The GT77 is just like this huge brick. And the Alienware M16, like, it's thinner than this one. It's not quite as big though. It's not quite as tall either. I do like this one better than this one. But goodness, Razer has everybody this year in terms of power brick sizing. This is so much more portable. Gotta love the Razer power bricks. It's definitely one of the reasons that I ended up choosing the Razer Blade 18. First up, we have, take this bottom off, all right? Very nice air ventilation. Right here, this grating is going to let a lot of air into the bottom of the chassis. I like to see that. Regarding whether I like playing on 16:9 or 16:10, it really depends on the game. Like a game like Fortnite where you're building vertically, 16:10 I think is inherently a better aspect ratio to play that game at. But if you're playing a game, I don't know, more like Apex Legends where you're mainly looking left and right, then I think 16:9 or a wide angle monitor like that one is actually a little more advantageous because most of the dangerous opponents are going to be coming at you from the sides rather than from up above or down below. So there is little covers here. I think there's screws here. Interesting. We have these little covers on 2 of the middle screws. I'm going to set these over here, try to replace those when we're done. Any development on the delivery of the Zephyrus Duo 16? I have the tracking number from Asus, and it's supposed to be delivered today. Which means we'll probably do a live stream with the Zephyrus Duo 16. Hopefully before the end of this week is my goal. Can you guys see this? So I've got 2 screws, one right here and one right here. I believe those are screws. Maybe they're not actually screws. Maybe I should just try taking it off as it is. But I've taken 4 screws out of the bottom. So 4 screws out of the front, 4 screws out of the back, and maybe I can just take it off now. But I think I got to take these out. Into the AM, they are an affiliate t-shirt vendor. I really like their t-shirts, but there's a link in the description for 10% off of whatever you order. from Into the AM. And I really like their t-shirts. I've been wearing them for years. High quality t-shirts with great designs, and they have all kinds of designs there. They have athletic wear, sleepwear. I think they even have like boxers and other stuff too, but I've just been doing the t-shirts, and I've been enjoying them a lot. Okay, definitely not screws there. So now that you know that you don't have to worry about unplugging those units to open it up, that makes opening this up way easier. It does feel like we have something still attached though, so maybe those screws do exist. These are not screw holes. These are just dummies, all right? You don't have to worry about opening those up if you get this laptop, all right? We're just gonna put the covers back in here and never worry about those again. All right, interesting. All right, so starting at the front, we have 2 speakers flanking left and right sides. We've got an 83 watt hour battery right here. We've got our RAM, which is Samsung. So we've got Samsung 1RX16 DDR5 4800. So we have 2 sticks, easily accessible. I like to see that. We also have our SSDs, right? So I believe one of these is empty, but it's got a nice SSD heatsink on it, which will help reduce temperatures. Yeah, so this one is empty. This one is the 2 terabyte SSD. I like that it's shipped that way rather than being shipped with 2 1 terabytes like on the Scar 18. At least from an upgradability perspective, I like that. This was empty. There's no SSD here. This is a heatsink cover. This is where our SSD is located. Let's see what brand of SSD HP gave with this. It is a Pyrite Gen 4 X4, 2 terabyte. So Pyrite, I believe, is one of the cheaper brands of SSD. Kind of makes sense that that's what they would give with it. I like that they gave us Samsung RAM though, at least. So good and bad. All right, so let's do a look at the thermals here. Interesting design. I do think we have seen better thermal designs than this year. This is partially what you're saving your money with, because like the Scar 18, the GT77, those have much more complex and intricate thermal designs with, like the GT77 has 4 fans. This has 2 fans. It's got way more heat pipes. I think it's like 8 heat pipes or something. This has 3. Though these 3 heat pipes are big fatty ones. They're not small. So there is that. That's the only thing that this thermal solution really has going for it right now. So we got a dedicated GPU heat pipe right here. And notice that this is a giant plate. Okay, so this plate is designed to absorb heat across the entire GPU, including the VRMs, and transmit it to the heat pipes here. All right, that's the goal. I much prefer to have a dedicated heat pipe go over the VRMs instead, because it does dissipate the heat a little bit better. That said, this in theory should work to keep temps below thermal throttling, at least in air-conditioned environments. But if you're like in a non-air-conditioned environment, this is where this type of setup may struggle a little bit more, and it may require you to reduce your power limits to keep your temperatures in check. Now we have these 2 fat shared heat pipes between the GPU and the CPU. And again, we got a plate covering the VRMs instead of a dedicated VRM heat pipe, which I don't love. Now we have 3 fan exhausts, 1, 2, and 3. And overall, I think this is like a bare bones thermal solution. I don't anticipate we're going to be able to do the same ultra high levels of TDP that we're getting in like the Scar 18 or the GT77. The temperatures on this laptop I'm anticipating are going to be warmer, especially in the heavy dual load games like Dead Space or Hogwarts. But that's kind of what you're getting with the budget pricing. I don't want to judge it before we actually see the numbers, but that's what I'm anticipating, right? So let's do a flex test going around the chassis. I really like the layout of this chassis. It's a very clean design with very good key spacing and key feel. because this is an optomechanical keyboard, just like the Scar 15 and Scar 17 from 2 years ago. Can you hear it? It's got this nice clickety clack to it. I love it. The keyboard really took me by surprise because I was not anticipating that. Now when I bought this, I did buy the per key RGB upgrade. So this does have the per key RGB instead of just a zone backlight. And I believe that also gives it that optomechanical feel. So if you do buy this Omen 17, I would say it's worth getting that keyboard upgrade as well as the screen upgrade. All right. Now let's do the flex test. So going around from the right side, coming through, no flex, a little bit of flex, no flex, very little flex here, but not much at all. Very rigid, no flex, a little bit of flex over here by the display as expected, but not much. That's actually very little in general. Less than average, no flex in the top right, very little to no flex in the very right. Going through the middle here now, a little bit of flex. Again, a little bit less than I was expecting, actually. I was expecting more flex here. That's interesting. Going through the keyboard now, definitely got some moderate amounts of flex in the keyboard, but this is better than I was anticipating. I'm gonna be honest. When I was thinking we'd have more flex in this chassis than what we have. So that's good. And this touchpad layout is very good as well. Let me zoom in on that. This touchpad is a good size. It's got a nice click. It's got good feel. And it's a glass touchpad, so it feels really good in the hand. Yeah, I like this. I like this overall. Here is the screen wobble. Let's do that. All right, so setting the screen. See that wobble? You definitely have some screen wobble. I'm kind of throwing it there, right? I'm making it as worst as possible, but I could also set it more gently. But the bigger question is the Omen hinges here gonna do okay? And I think the hinges are a potential weak point, maybe. It's hard to say. I mean, they look like they're fine now, and they are pretty sturdy feeling. But I would always be curious to see, like 5 years from now, how many of these laptop hinges fail. I don't think a huge percentage of these laptop hinges will fail, but I bet you some will. I think we're ready to turn this sucker on. Let's go ahead and hit the power on button. Looking at this display, we do have some bezel along the bottom, some additional, a little bit fatter bezel along the top, but overall, still a fairly compact design for a 17.3 inch. Let's go ahead and get logged in real quick. There is no Windows Hello on this laptop. Another aspect of saving money, because, you know, Windows Hello costs more money. All right, so this is actually the left side. On the left side, we have our power adapter port, our network port, so a USB, I think it's a 3.2, but it doesn't look blue. We have a mini display port, which is awesome. 3 USB-As that are 5 gigabit. They don't say what type, but I think that's 3.2. And then we have 1 Thunderbolt 4 and 1 mini display port, and then the HDMI is 2.1. So this would be the power adapter. The Ethernet port is, they don't say what it is. It could be, it's probably gigabit then, but it could be, yeah, it is just gigabit, it looks like. And we do have Intel Wi-Fi 6E with Intel AX211 for our Wi-Fi card. This is going to be USB 3.2. This is a mini display port 1.4. I love that. That's going to be the port I would use when hooking up to my giant monitor over here. That or the Thunderbolt 4. So this is the HDMI 2.1, and here's our Thunderbolt 4. Now we have a headset port here and a full-size SD card reader as well. You gotta love that. That's a hefty amount of ports right here. This is as many ports as all on the Scar 18. Like, that's a better port selection than the Scar 18, I think, or pretty close to it, just on one side. Now on this side, we have 2 more USB-As and then our exhaust. So I guess the Scar 18 has an additional USB-C, but no mini display port. I don't know. I still like the ports better on this one than the Scar series this year. There's a lot of extra junk in here. That's the thing I don't like about the HP Omen Gaming Hub here. There's like ads in here basically for keyboards and headphones. I don't love that. If we go to my games, you can see the games that I got installed on here. Go to gallery, there's some backgrounds you can get. There's also an optimizer tab for boosters. You can boost, this is a pop-up. It pops up when you play a game. I don't love that. You can turn this off if you want. All right, so going to the Omen 17. This is the key area of the software. You go to your product here. Up here we have our system vitals. This gives you some basic stats on what's going on. If your network is being used by something, you can see what's using it. I actually like that. You can see your GPU temps. You can see your CPU temps. Right now we have excellent CPU and GPU temps for idle 35 or 36 and 42. Our RAM is utilized 47%. Going to undervolting, there are undervolting options in here. I don't know if we'll get to that today, but I love that they integrate at least some of the undervolting right here into the software. We have network booster. You can set this to prioritize maybe the game you're playing or a download you're trying to download. There is a lighting software included, and this lets you change your animation between these different options: color cycle, starlight, breathing, ghosting, ripple, wave, Omen X, raindrop, and audio pulse. You can also turn your lighting off if you want to go for a more businessy look, or you can just set it to white if you want to go for more businessy. Since I do have the per key RGB lighting, you can customize everything very precisely. So you can actually grab the exact keys that you want to change and customize them to whatever, and you can do different layers here. You can increase the speed, you can select the color. For all of these different options, it's very customizable. I really like this easy to use setup. Just within the default though, there's a good amount of options. You can increase the speed, change the color, change the effect. We'll go over some of those here in a moment, but performance control, we got eco, balanced, and performance. This does have advanced Optimus. How awesome is that, okay? So you do have advanced Optimus. You can switch between the GPU and the CPU, or sorry, the GPU, integrated GPU, and the dedicated GPU on the fly. Honestly, I was not expecting to have advanced Optimus at this price point. So A+, good job HP for including advanced Optimus at this price point. Now, eco mode, basically, I believe that switches us into integrated GPU, I think. Now we still have dedicated GPU enabled. That changed our display refresh rate though. It's only 60, I can tell it's only 60 now. If I go back to performance, now I'm at 165 Hertz refresh rate. So if you're gonna play games, you probably wanna be in performance mode unless you want quieter fans. And then you wanna do max fans if you're gonna do benchmarking. We can see what those sound like right now. All right, you can hear them spinning up. Switching back to auto. And there's also a manual fan curve that you can set your fans to if you want to go to a low, high, or you can set the dynamic fan curve if you want. I like this software overall, and I think it's very effective. It causes a bit of a stutter for a moment. Okay, so now we're in NVIDIA GPU only mode. And there are macros, and I want to point out there's a row of programmable macro key buttons. So if you want to do like pause, play music, skip songs, change volume, whatever you want to do for these programmable buttons, you can do that. That's pretty sweet, I think. Not all laptops have that. I know Aorus used to do it, and not very many laptops have been doing it for a couple of years now. I don't know if everyone uses those, but sometimes they can be really handy. You know, another thing you can use them for is like key binds in games. You can like set them, if you're like, oh, all my WASD keys are used up. You can use these programmable buttons for like abilities in video games as well, which I think is super useful depending on the game. Okay, so overall, I really like the software. It's above average. It's probably not quite as good as Armory Crate, but in some ways it's better than Armory Crate because you have the undervolting options here. It's time to do our display test. So my impressions so far, it feels surprisingly premium. I mean, it's an expensive laptop, but they are shockingly undercutting the competition. The biggest compromise so far is the display specs and quality is not going to match the highest end like Scar 18 displays or the Razer Blade displays. The build quality seems good. The ports are excellent overall. The keyboard is phenomenal. The trackpad is also very, very good. The keyboard has actually got an optomechanical feel to the keyboard, which is very rare, I think. This display is like, it's not a wow display. It doesn't wow me, but this display is like the entry level of premium. You know, like the Alienware M18, which is going to cost a lot more than this laptop, has the same display specs, 300 nits, QHD 165 hertz. Though I think that one is a 16:10 aspect ratio. The biggest gripe I have with this thing so far is I'm curious about the cooling potential of this laptop. I don't think it's going to be as good as what we've seen on some of the other laptops. I'm very curious to see what the color gamut on this display is. If it's above 80% on the P3 and hits 100% sRGB, I'll be happy. Keep in mind that my Spyder 5 Elite is underestimates by about 10% on the color gamuts. So we got 89% of the sRGB. Let me zoom in. 89% on the sRGB. So basically that's going to be around 97% sRGB. 70% of Adobe and 70% of the P3 color gamut. So that would be like around 78, 79, 80% on the P3 color gamut. That's very good, I think, in terms of total contrast. Brightness wise, 19 nits on the low end and 374 nits on the high end. HP is cutting themselves short. They're saying it's only a 300 nits display, but it's 74 nits brighter than what they're advertising. How awesome is that? Also, the contrast ratio is very good at 1040:1. This is above what we're seeing on a lot of the other laptops. Even the brighter display laptops are not getting this high of contrast. They're getting more like 800 or 900. So I think this is for the money. The display is a good display for the money, which that's what I'm all about. Like if you want to get something that's a good value for the money, and that's what I'm trying to help people find. So I love seeing that this is a good value for the money. All right, so we're going to do a raw test first. Remember, this laptop has 8 P cores and 6 E cores. All right, so that's going to be 10 less E cores than the i9 processors. So total of 16 cores, 24 threads in this laptop. 16 cores. So this is 8 less E cores. So basically, if you were to get the i9 version, you're getting an extra 8 E cores, I believe. Right now we have 0 voltage offset, so no undervolt at all. Let's go ahead and start. So we got 19,713 for our first run. Let's go ahead and see what does our power draw and temperatures and clock speeds look like. Our package power is right now doing 129, 125. Our core speeds are 3.7 gigahertz on the P cores, 2.99 gigahertz on the E cores. Those are interestingly lower clock speeds than what we saw on the i9 processors. Still, that's a good amount of juice. This is the same juice that we're putting through like the Blade 18 a little bit. I'm just curious if this is the sustained wattage or if this is going to be only temporary. We're going to find out. So 19,494 for our second run. I like that I can check my CPU utilization right here. So we're getting, oh, that's GPU utilization. This is CPU. What's causing the GPU to spike? That's weird. And let's see what we get for our just raw score one more time. And because we just did a fresh restart, so why not? More likely to score a little bit higher right now. So we got 19,262. Let's try undervolting it real quick. And we're going to go, let's do a -100. Boom. We got a -100 core voltage offset. Now, this is not undervolting our ring. So this is not undervolting our ring or our efficiency cores. So if you were to do a better undervolt, you're going to want to also undervolt your ring and efficiency cores, okay? Let's just hop into a 10-minute test and see what we get for our 10-minute test. Our CPU package power is doing 136 on average so far. Excellent start to the temps. Excellent start to this. And also look at our temperatures, only 80 degrees. On our CPU package, 83 and 75 on our core temps. Impressive. Those fatty heat pipes are doing their job. Even though there's only a few of them, they are still dissipating the heat rather nicely. I'm actually a little impressed. And I don't have the back raised up. Let me raise the back. I always raise the back on each of my tests with my SSD. So this should help reduce the temps just a little bit. So it looks like our maximum temp hit at 96. All right, and now we're throttling down to 70 watts of power, which is not ideal because now our temperatures are only 67 degrees and our performance is going to be reduced so much. We're only doing 2.89 gigahertz on the P cores, 2.3 gigahertz on the E cores now. I can pretty much guarantee you this score is going to be like meh. Like we're going to be dropping down to probably like 15K or something like that. Overall, I mean, Crest of Honor says, geez, the CPU temps dropped by 10 degrees. That's right. When we added that undervolt, the temperatures went down quite a lot. Like before we were in like the low 90s for our temperatures pulling 130 watts. And after the undervolt, it went down to like mid 80s, low 80s. So our temperatures were much better after we undervolted. And that's only with one undervolt being applied of potentially like several different undervolts you can do. So I'm going to show you how to do an Intel XTU undervolt and really boost the performance on this laptop, because the stock performance only going to 80 watts is not going to cut it. If I was using this laptop, I'd be like, screw that. I don't want 60-degree temperatures. I want to push my performance way higher. If you want to lower the temps, one thing you can definitely do, so we need to restart, but I'm going to disable core isolation here. I know we need to disable core isolation, and we also need to, we're going to go to turn Windows features on and off, and we need to disable virtual machine platform. So now that we've got those changed and we got Intel XTU installed, we can go ahead and restart. All right, so once you get into Intel XTU, you want to go to advanced view, go to advanced tuning, and then I click I agree and don't show me again. Core voltage offset. It's not letting me apply a core voltage offset. I could increase it, but not decrease it. Our power boost window is set to 100 watts. And we can raise the power boost time window at least to 128. I'm gonna try setting this to 130 and see if it takes. Oh, it just reset. It's not taking any changes, which means that things seem to be locked down. I wonder if the core or cache voltage offset is enabled. Let's pop into the BIOS and see if there's anything. If not, we probably won't be able to undervolt this thing. All right, so our main options here, we've got our product number, our specs that it comes with. We got security, we can add a password. We got configuration options here. So language, virtualization technology. We'll try turning that off. So we could do Advanced Optimus or GPU only. It's too bad we don't have the option of enabling undervolting in here. That's too bad. I wish there also was the option to do integrated graphics only. That is a horrible BIOS. I mean, it's a minimal BIOS. It's definitely a minimal BIOS. I like the overall way you interact with everything though. Like it's easy to interact and easy to use the mouse. We're gonna apply changes and exit. Interesting. Yeah, so it let me raise the power boost time window to 128 at least, but that's the only change as far as I know that it actually is gonna let me make. Let's download ThrottleStop and check that out. Okay, so once again, everyone, undervolting can be dangerous. If you mess up your settings, you can really mess stuff up, so be careful, all right? So let's just try seeing if we can set the undervolt to be 110 and hit apply. And let's see if that took. It looks like it did not take because it's at minus 100 still. Let's try core voltage offset, minus 50. Yeah, it's not showing it up in HW info at least, but maybe the actual performance would be better, maybe. All right, so we've applied the settings here in ThrottleStop. Let's see if they took. And when we actually run this, we'll see the power limits and it'll be easy to tell if they're actually working or not. Resetting this, we're pulling 130 watts. Oh wow, our temperatures are in the 70s now. They're not, let's see if it goes into like the high 80s or not. So far it's 81 on the CPU package power, 73 on the core, and we're doing 130. Okay, package is now, it spiked at 88 for a moment, but it's averaging 82. Our core clocks are not that much higher at 3.7 and 2.99. Our temperatures are definitely better than they were at initial launch. The biggest question though is, did our long power limit increase or not? If it increased above 130, then I'm okay with that, because that's the biggest issue that'll rob like 30-40% of our performance if we can't keep the power limit up. So it did not keep the 130 watts, but we're not doing 60 or 70 or whatever we were doing before. We were doing 60 something before in our CPU package power. And now at least we're doing nonstop 100, which that does make me feel a lot better as far as performance goes. You know, and our temperatures are also going to be like chilling, really good temps overall. Right now we're at 70 and 78. 70 for our core, 78, 80 now for our package, 79 for our package. So our temps are fantastic now. And it's basically going to be, looks like it's going to be chilling at 100 watts. So it doesn't look like ThrottleStop or Intel XTU allowed us to make any changes. That's a little bit disappointing, but at least you can at least undervolt your main cores. Not all laptops can even do that, right? So this is better than what you get, for example, on the Asus laptops. You can do a bigger undervolt on here. It's not limited to only 80 millivolts, but it's still not as good as what we're seeing on like the Razer laptops or MSI. Both of those have better undervolting potential. I believe Lenovo also allows more undervolting than this. Right now, it basically looks like during the initial boost period, we're doing like 3.6, 3.7 gigahertz on the P cores, 2.9 on the E cores, and now we're doing 2.6 on the E cores and 3.3 to 3.4 gigahertz on the P cores with 100 watts. And that's with a minus 100 millivolt undervolt on the P cores only. We are averaging 3.3 to 3.4 on our P cores, 2.6 to 2.7 on our E cores. Our temperatures on average were 71 and 80. And our package power averaged 103 watts of power. That's a good amount of wattage for the number of cores we have in here, but I would say that that's an under too little amount of wattage for something like the i9 13900HX. So I hope the 13900HX has a slightly higher wattage here. 17,448 for our 10-minute score. 10-minute score, 17,448. So for gaming performance, I'm anticipating this to be not that much slower than the i9, but for multi-core performance, this is a significant downstep from the i9 13900HX. I'm sure the i9 13900HX with this laptop, if it's a 100 watt, is probably going to be more like 25K if you get the i9 instead, because it's got the additional E cores that really can help boost performance. It's going to be good enough to do video editing. It's going to handle general multi-core workloads just fine. Okay, so I'm very curious about these speakers. Let's reduce our fan noise down. All right, so our first song for today is going to be Peter Spacey, Roar. So we're holding it about 10 inches in front of the chassis, kind of similar to where your head would be if you were using the laptop. Okay, let's move to Half-Life Faded Aeon. I'm going to restart it because I had the volume only at like 80% in the window here. So now that I've increased that, let me restart Roar again. Roar by Peter Spacey. Half-Life Faded Aeon. Okay, so there was definitely some audio breakups going on there with the piano music kind of breaking up in like the highs, I think. Let's go to La 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 Love You, Deuce by Deuce Williams. Okay, so overall, I'd say the speakers are very similar to like the Strix G18 in terms of like raw category of speaker, which means that it's about like an 8.0 or maybe a little higher, 8.1 or something in that ballpark. Yeah, so the speakers are by Bang and Olufsen, and there's HP Audio Boost. They don't say how many there are, but we saw them downward firing. I don't see any place where they would be upward firing, so I think there's just 2 downward firing speakers on the left and right. And overall, yeah, I mean, the sound will fill a room, a small room, no problem, but I'm guessing you're gonna wanna turn the volume down in certain types of audio because you're gonna end up with audio breaking apart in the mids and highs. And that's the biggest issue I found with Half-Life Faded Aeon. Let's see if we can optimize the sound just a little bit. So I'm not sure if there's a way to make that better or not. Okay, so I've got my UHS-2 SD card slot here. We're gonna pop that in and we're gonna see what our transfer speeds are like as well. Okay, I like that the SD card goes all the way in and it's a click in, click out. So it's doing 8990 megabytes a second. That's not a super fast one. A super fast one would be more like 170 or 200 or something. I think the card itself is capable of doing, yeah, this is a 300 megabyte read and 250 write card. So it's not doing the full speed of the card. All right, so you can see the keyboard backlight is very good. And it covers the whole keyboard spectrum, like all of the keys and the secondary functions. They are all lit up and they look good. Like you can see the F1s, F2s, the secondary key functions for the keyboard brightness. Including the secondary functions here. And the colors look very good as well across the whole system. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you the different lighting modes. All right, so first is gonna be color cycle. This is gonna cycle between different color options that are single colors. You have Starlight. This is going to do individual keycaps with different colors. I don't really like that very much. Breathing, which is gonna bring different colors in and out, and you can switch between different colors as it breathes. Ghosting. Ghosting. Yeah, I keep changing it back to something else, but basically this is whatever you touch gets lit up. Ripple. You can see what Ripple looks like. Ripple looks pretty sick, actually. You can change the colors that are reverberated out as well. I'm changing it to jungle. So now it's green and yellow. I like that. Ripple's pretty sweet, actually, I think. All right, so then you have wave, and you can do different wave patterns. You can do different patterns with the wave. And that is interestingly different. You can do them, you can do different pattern sets. You can do them going out together, coming in together. You can do it vertically. So this is the X for Omen X. It does like an X wherever you press. And then a raindrop, which is like falling rain. And you can do different colors. Audio pulse, this is going to be if you make sound, then the whole thing will light up, which looks pretty cool. I wish it was better animated, but yeah. How much does this RGB increase FPS? Oh, it's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is the wave, and you can change it. Interesting, when you change different colors, it goes into an individual mode. So that was so notice when I switched from Galaxy here, when I switched from Galaxy into Volcano, it switches it to be like a line moving. But if you're in Galaxy mode, it's like the whole thing. So that's the one I like the most. I love this on every laptop I use pretty much. So we're full screen, 2560 by 1440. We've got ray tracing on ultra. So we're on maximum settings. We're gonna turn frame generation on. We're gonna do quality. Everything's on max. Let's load in our benchmark and see what we get. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to reset this test. I guess I can't cancel the test, so we're gonna have to go and do it again. A little preview of the performance. I like our wattages right now. We're getting close to the 170 and high levels of CPU utilization. Our temps are pretty decent so far. They're not amazing, but they're below 90, which is good. Our TDP is not huge on our CPU. Like the SCAR was doing like 120 watts through this area. Cyberpunk 2077. DLSS on quality, frame generation, everything on ultra. Did 112 on the GT77. I didn't reset it at the right time. And we did 116 on the SCAR 18 here. So, wow, we're hitting very close to competitive with the top end. 127 FPS. This, what? Is this gonna beat? This is gonna beat. Oh, duh, we're not in QHD plus. We are in QHD. So this is not the same resolution as what we did the SCAR 18 and GT77 in. That's the problem here. We should expect more FPS for the same settings, right? So you got to keep that in mind. You know, it's about, I think it's about 8 or 9, 10% more pixels than what we've got in this. So 136 FPS. Wow. That's good. That's very good. And our temperatures were not awful, I don't think, during that run. I'm pretty impressed. It's a shame we can't force it into running at the right resolution because this is the native. The only way we can run at comparable resolutions for comparable benchmarks is going to be hooking it up to my projector, which we can do that. But I want to do all the standard benchmarks first. Well, maybe we should do our comparable benchmarks first. Let's do those first. 2560 by 1600. Frame gen on. DLSS on quality. Everything looks good. What's the max frame rate the projector can do? The projector at 1080p can do 240 hertz refresh rate. But in QHD, it's only 60. 4K and QHD, it's only 60 hertz. There is a link in the description down below if you want to check out this projector. I bought it from Best Buy. It's a $2,000 projector. So, not as high anymore. Notice our FPS is going to be below the SCAR and the GT77, which is kind of what I was more expecting. But still, it's very close. Look at that, 109, 110. And I'll show you side by side what the performance was. Well, this actually might beat, this might actually beat some of them. I don't know, it keeps going higher. And then that counter right there usually underestimates a little bit, I think. So I think we actually might have a new record for Cyberpunk. What? Our CPU temps are at 90. Our total TDP we're pushing through the system is like 240, so 70 plus 160. Yeah, it's like 230, 240, okay? So 2560 by 1600, DLSS enabled, quality, frame generation on, yes. 124 FPS? What? What? You can see in Cyberpunk with these settings on, we got 112, 116. So this Omen 17 just beat these, it could be driver upgrades. Maybe driver upgrades is what gave us the performance boost here, but dang, what? I am, what? 112, 116, and we got 124.9. Huh? Save money, get more performance? This is surprising. So DLSS is on quality, graphics is on ultra. So right now it's actually full HD plus. We want to jump up to QHD plus. These are some impressive numbers so far. Our CPU is doing between 70, 77, 76 watts right now. Our GPU is bouncing around between 159, 130, 160. So GPU utilization is not at 100%, at least right now, which is interesting. I believe we were seeing 100% GPU utilization in the GT77. Beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do our test. And just for reference for you guys, we got 112 with the SCAR, 130 with the GT77. Right here, 112 with the SCAR, 130 for the GT77. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and reset it and we're walking. Our GPU utilization is not at 100% right now. That's the interesting part to me. We've got the i7 CPU in this laptop versus the i9 in the others. So this might be like a difference of the i9 just outperforming and allowing a lot higher FPS. It might also be that just this Omen is not pulling nearly as high a wattage on the CPU. That's also reducing our, causing more of a CPU bottleneck in this game. And that appears to be the case to me right now, is that our CPU is bottlenecking us a little bit more. So 108, and our 1% lows were also not quite as high, I think, doing 108 and 28. So comparing that again to our GT77, the SCAR got 112 and the GT77 got 130 in this case. So that's a pretty substantial improvement for the SCAR 18 and GT77, especially the GT77 doing better. But obviously this is extremely playable, and it'd be, I mean, you'd probably be able to tell the difference between 108 and 130 FPS if you're paying attention, but if you're not paying attention, then that's very good levels of performance, I think. So QHD plus, and everything's set to max settings. So for reference, I'm gonna pop over to the GT77 again. The SCAR 18 got 513 in this test. The GT77 got 548. And so far we're definitely hitting above 500, but that initial test is a bit like the easy part. The performance is looking really good so far in this test, and I think we're gonna be matching the SCAR 18 at close to 500 FPS, maybe even getting close to the GT77. It shows you that you really don't have to have an i9 to do these kinds of games, especially CSGO. I think it's more of single-threaded focus. 497 FPS. You know, it's not quite what we were getting with the SCAR 18 or GT77, but at a massive discounted price, the Omen 17 is holding its own really well so far. Our comparable numbers for God of War, DLSS on quality, ultra settings, QHD plus. We did 116 on the SCAR, 124 on the GT77. And let's see if we can get, I'm hoping we can get at least 110, 115 at least. I would love to match the SCAR 18, at least 115. Very close performance to the SCAR. Oh, wow, 118, 119 average so far. Our GPU is pulling a solid 174, 173, 172, 176. Very nice. Whoa, okay, so we got 120, 56. Look at that. We did 116 on the SCAR, 124, so we're right in between the SCAR and the GT77. Love it. I love it. The Omen is just providing so much bang for the buck right now. It's crazy. I'm really impressed so far right now with the Omen 17. At least from a performance perspective. We're at QHD plus, quality, frame generation enabled. Everything's on ultra. Ray tracing is enabled. And we're on dedicated GPU only mode in the display options, by the way. So we're in the Forbidden Forest right now, running around. Can I fight these guys over here? I don't know. I think I already killed them all. But we're obviously not running into any massive stuttering. Our 1% lows are at 45 right now. 100 FPS average. Our performance is good. Our temperatures are pretty good. We are being CPU bound a little bit at only 85% GPU utilization, which is kind of too bad. Can I fight this Doug Bog? Is it over here? Looks like it's not over here. I gotta say the speakers from the laptop are pretty good. If I set the fans to a lower performance setting so they're not as loud, I'm pretty sure you'd be able to game pretty well on the laptop speakers. It wouldn't be amazing, but it'd be good in a pinch. So just running from area to area, we did not run into any problems. Our VRAM is not being limited. We're at 11 gigs of VRAM utilized right now. That's good. Yeah, there's very little stuttering so far, but this is, that's because we were in the forest. Forest is not going to be as bad, right? Hogsmeade is where it's like so many NPCs. We're going to get a lot more 1% lows as textures load in and out, potentially. Yeah, so our 1% low right now is only at 19. Our temperatures are pretty dang good. Our CPU is not as heavily utilized. Our wattage is only 65 watts, and we're definitely being CPU bound right now. I think this might show you that you either want to get the i9 or you want to get a laptop that has a higher power limit. I'd have to actually test the i9 in this CPU or in this chassis to know for sure, but I think we're going to be CPU bound in this scenario. Let's go ahead and try our run up, and here we go. Okay. And shabam. Okay, so we got 97.19. Our 1% lows were not that good. Let's check our benchmark comparison results. Okay, so the GT77 got 78 and the Scar 18 got 93 and we got 97 with the Omen 17. This could be a driver update to improve performance. Wow, the Omen 17. I mean, maybe a CPU with less cores just performs better in this scenario. I don't know. Omen 17 beat them both. Impressive. Okay, very impressive. Okay, so I just hit reset on the FPS counter.
Hey! Cuidado, niños!
215 Nanu says, bro, I wish I had seen this because I just bought a GT77 3070 Ti 4K 120 Hz for 2800. Yeah, this laptop would crush that laptop's performance, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yep. Daniel says, G-Sync on laptops is a big hassle. You need to pass NVIDIA verification. Display needs to pass certification, and then this needs to be burned into the vBIOS. The process takes a lot of time, and I believe NVIDIA also charges the customers or charges the manufacturer per laptop a bit to add G-Sync technology or like per display. So it increases the overall cost of the laptop as well by a little bit. So, you know, when you don't have G-Sync on the laptop, they're able to at least, in theory, reduce the price, I don't know, 25, 50 bucks or something. I believe that's the case. I don't know that for sure. That's my guess. So, wow, 255 FPS. Let's take a look at our temps and everything. Our CPU temps 90 degrees. I saw a spike to 95 or something like that. We're doing crazy high levels of wattage though, like 245 watts going through the system there, 250 watts. Wow, really high levels of wattage. And our CPU is high though, but still the performance is fantastic. The performance is phenomenal. And it makes me very impressed just in general right now with this laptop. I mean, I could live with those CPU temps if it meant that I could save like $1,000. You know, I'd be okay. I'd be okay with that. And I think a lot of people will be okay with that. Now, the bigger question is, are you okay with the display resolution and or the display quality trade-off being lower quality display compared to something like on the Scar 18 or Blade 18? So we got 155 FPS. The Scar 18 got 151. So this got 4 more FPS than the Scar 18. But the GT77 got 169. So we did not get close to the GT77 even, but we surpassed the Scar 18, which is wow. I'm super impressed. I'm impressed with the Omen. It's doing great so far in our benchmarks. Let's go on to our next test. Let's go to Dying Light 2. We're in the highest settings, high quality ray tracing. Changing our resolution. We're in QHD+, no VSync, reflex is on, frame generation is on, DLSS is on quality. Let's run the benchmark. Okay, so it is recording. So the number we're gonna be looking at for our benchmark is gonna be this 152, 151. We are hitting great GPU utilization right now. Our GPU utilization is like 99%, that's phenomenal. Our temperatures are also really, really good. Turning down the speakers a little bit because they're a little loud. 169 watts on the GPU. And we have no overclock applied, by the way, right? No overclock being applied. The Scar 18 had that 5100 overclock. Dying Light 2. So the Scar 18 got 138, the GT77 got 128 in this test. So we're right in the ballpark of the Scar right now at 138. This is heckin' impressive. I think we're gonna have the highest performance here in Dying Light 2. We'll have to see. I think we're almost at the end now. And our number is just going up. So it's important to recognize that this Omen 17 does have an advantage in that it has the latest drivers. Yeah, 146 is our number. So highest performance ever in Dying Light 2 so far. From the Omen 17, the cheapest RTX 4090. Heckin' impressive result. Wow. So QHD, DLSS on quality, frame generation enabled, ray tracing on ultra. All right, so I'll have to look at the screen here. And that is very smooth looking at the projector. $114 average so far. That's phenomenal. Our temps on the GPU are also great in this game. We're getting 71 on the GPU, 77 on the CPU, 81 on the CPU, and we're pulling 171 watts on the GPU. So over 170 watts on the GPU and 60 watts on the CPU. So great all-around performance in The Witcher 3. So we got 106 on the Scar 18. In this laptop, we got 114. So again, beating the Scar 18. Less money, more performance. I'm impressed. Frame generation on. DLSS on quality, everything's on ultra. Wow, we're doing 115 FPS right now. Holy bananas. The P button. Okay, so now we're going. All right, so this is how I do my test. I let it fly in a straight line. Oh goodness. We're going off course a little bit. Oh crap. Can we take off still? Okay. All right, we still took off. That's good. So 93 FPS average. Okay, so we got 99 FPS. 99 FPS with a 66 1% lows. Obviously, this is gonna play Flight Simulator really, really well. Wonderful, wow. Flight Simulator is awesome on this laptop. We're gonna do Apex Legends now, and we're gonna go back to the onboard display now. Okay, so right now we're on high settings. We'll turn off VSync. Let's go into firing range. Beautiful. Okay, so we're on high settings right now, and it looks like this game would be able to do high settings in Apex. No problem. And yeah, it feels like it's not as good as a 240 hertz display, but it is obviously a very good esports gaming display. If you're an esports player, I would recommend the 240 hertz option though. I think this would be hard to tell if you're playing on high and low settings in this scenario. Just because you're only at 165 hertz refresh rate, so you could even play Apex on maximum settings with this laptop. And it wouldn't be that big a difference. Let's go ahead and change to low settings and do it again. I gotta say, our FPS is really good for max settings. All right, so here we go. We should be getting 300 FPS nonstop, and I can tell our 1% lows are a little higher now, and you know, like right now our 1% lows are above the refresh rate of the display, which I love to see that. I'm gonna concentrate and see how high I can get here. I'm definitely missing some of these. All right, so we got 99, I think. Very good overall performance. And obviously excellent frames per second. But Apex is not too hard to run on low. So it looks like Control is the map TDM for today. Let's hop into Control. The thermal throttling seems pretty good so far. And the wrist rest is also, the wrist rest has stayed to a moderately cool temperature without getting uncomfortably warm. It's just gotten kind of like warm-ish. It's not cool to the touch. It's definitely warmer than like stock, but it's not like, oh my gosh, the wrist rest is so hot. Okay, I just reset the FPS counter. Let's see what we get. Uh-oh. I'm gonna try to help my teammates here. Ah, crap! I was about to kill the. So yeah, I would definitely buy this laptop with a QHD display if it was me choosing. There's one. There's two. Let's go! Double kill. I hate the EVA 8. I never hit anything with it. got me. Pit bulls can be really cute. I am always careful around pit bulls just because they have a tendency to be more aggressive. So be sure to train your pit bull really well, okay? Did the guy drop off? Come back! All right, this will be the last life. And then we're gonna run Timespy. And then we're gonna do a summary, all right? Apex is great. This display is a good esports display. Timespy, here we go. This is looking really juicy so far. 176, 174.7. We're nailing our wattages. Our temperatures are also looking awesome at 63 degrees Celsius on the GPU, 67 on the CPU. You know, for only having a 3 heat pipe system, this is doing a remarkably good job at keeping everything at reasonable temps, at least in this short Timespy run. But in the majority of the games, we were also seeing pretty good temps on the GPU and pretty good CPU temps under 90 most of the time. A handful of the games we saw above 90, at least bursts above 90, but most of the time it was almost always sustained below 90. Which I like to see that, because they're not going to run into thermal throttling that way. Wow. This is really great performance. For the money. I mean, under $3,000, like let's say your target is $3,000 for your budget. I don't see you buying a laptop with more performance than this. Unless you can eventually buy like a used 4090 from someone else. That'd be the only other option. Maybe some other laptops like Alienware or Lenovo eventually go on sale. Like some kind of coupon sale that bring them down below 3,000. But as far as like stock retail pricing goes, at $29.49, this is going to be your best bet. Like you can get this level of performance for $27.49. That is this CPU and GPU combo. But then if you want better display, SSD size, all of that, that's where it's going to be more. 21.9, almost 22K. Almost 22K stock, no overclock. I'm just gonna do, we're just gonna do a quick and dirty 200, 500 millihertz overclock, 200 on the core, 500 on the memory. Let's see if it's stable. Impressive. Impressive. Our clock speed is also better. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but we were doing like between 2000 and 2100 mostly. Sometimes dipping below 2,000, I believe, in the first run. And now we're doing 2,200 at the high end, down to like 2050. So our range of boost clock went up, which means I'm anticipating an over 22,000 GPU score. Wow, 116 watts on the CPU there in the burst, which is good for a burst. 22,671 for our Timespy GPU score, 13,526 for the CPU score, combined 20,583. That is our overclock result, and it is crazy impressive, I think, for a $2749 laptop. 2007. This is a new level of performance at this crazy low price. I am absolutely loving this laptop from a bang for the buck perspective. It is phenomenal. I do feel like this is a little bit heavier than some of the competition out there. The laptop as a whole is fairly portable still. It's not the thinnest laptop, but it's not that thick either. Like it's kind of tapers at the edges, so it looks a bit thinner than it actually is. The build quality is very rigid. I did a flex test earlier in this live stream, but it is not very flexy. It feels very sturdy, I think. And the keyboard is an opto mechanical keyboard, so it has a click. It has a click to it, just like the Scar 15, Scar 17 from a couple years ago. I love that keyboard. This keyboard is basically the exact same feel as that keyboard, and it is phenomenal. It does not have a number pad, but the keyboard spacing is great. Like there's lots of spacing between everything, and you do have programmable buttons on this side, which makes it so that you can have additional functionality there or use those as keys to do skills in video games or to launch applications. There's a macro section inside the application, HP Omen software. Now, the Omen software is good. You can even undervolt with it, and we did undervolt this laptop in the Omen software, and it was very easy to do. I could not undervolt in Intel XTU, I could not undervolt in the BIOS, and I could not undervolt with ThrottleStop. So unless you're able to somehow break the BIOS to be able to access undervolting, you're not going to be able to fully undervolt the cache and the ring and the E-cores and all that stuff. The backlight on the keyboard also looks great. The touchpad is excellent. It's a glass touchpad, smooth, nice click to it. I like it. The display quality, 374 nits, I believe, brightness, 89% sRGB, almost 100% sRGB if you factor in the fact that my Spyder 5 Elite underestimates the color gamut by about 8 or 9%. Like probably around 97% sRGB coverage on this display. This is the QHD 165 Hz display, but I would personally buy the QHD 240 Hz display if you can spend the extra $40 on it. I think that is going to be well worth it and basically improve your esports and smooth fluidity gameplay, because a lot of games are going to be able to hit 240 frames per second, especially if you're using FrameGen and DLSS 3. Now, we did see phenomenal performance, outperforming even the Scar 18 in a number of titles. It did fall behind the Scar 18 and GT77 in some other titles, though it did not just straight beat everything. Certain titles have performed better than others. The RAM in this was doing good. I've got DDR5 4800 in this, but the new, if you were to use the link in the description down below to buy the Omen 17, which does help support me as a content creator, that one is DDR5 5600, so it's even faster than what we had in today's unit. So you'd actually get a little bit better performance than what we saw in today's games. Now, the GPU temperatures were very good overall. The CPU temperatures were not as good in some titles, but and the CPU power draw was not as good in some titles as well, because basically what we were seeing is what's in like a game like Dead Space 2, we were seeing increased CPU bottlenecking compared to the Scar 18 and GT77, which reduced our performance in that game. But I don't think you're going to see that in most games. You know, most games are not very optimized for multi-threaded like Dead Space is, I believe. From a user input, port selection, the ports on this are excellent. We've got a full-size SD card reader, 3 USB-As, a LAN port. The power brick is not the biggest we've seen this year. It's fairly portable. You can see it right here. It is like a box though, so it's a little different, but it'll fit in your bag about the same as like the GT77. A little smaller than the GT77. The thermal cooling solution did surprisingly well, considering it only has 3 heat pipes on here. And the fan noise was about the same as max fans on the Scar 18. Not quite as loud as the GT77, but it is a fairly loud, whistly type of a fan noise. We did not try using the laptop in not max fan mode, but I'm pretty sure you could get some much quieter gameplay with like balanced mode, or just setting the fans to auto, or setting your own manual fan curve. I showed you how to do that in the software overview section. So you should be able to tune this to get the fan curve that you want and still have excellent performance. I'm impressed with this Omen 17. I'm definitely going to highly recommend this thing, especially given the price point and the fact that it comes with Advanced Optimus at this price point as well. Does this come with G-Sync? I keep getting that question and I never found out. Let's find out right now. G-Sync is available and it is enabled currently on the display. So overall, the way I would configure this, let me just go over this. So there's a link in the description to this exact setup. But if I was buying this laptop, I would buy the i9 version, but you could go with the 4080. It's going to be probably 10-12% slower, but it's a $550 increase to get the 4090 version. And I feel like that's worth it. But it's up to you if it's worth it for you. It's going to not probably be the best bang for the buck, especially considering the lower base price here. So the 4080 is probably the better bang for the buck in theory. I would buy the 32 gigs of RAM, and I would upgrade to the 240 hertz. And I would just leave it 512 gig SSD, and then I would buy my own SSD later on. And you could also upgrade the RAM later on yourself manually for a little bit less money if you want to save a little bit of money. We did check it. It was $150 to buy the RAM yourself instead of $180. If I was buying this and planning to keep it, I would also add the 3-year accidental protection on it. And then that's going to be a tricked out, super nice laptop, I think, for $3,509 with the warranty that's 3 years, accidental coverage. I guess another trade-off, and then I want to add this. The speakers on this are not as good as the Scar 18, the GT77, the Blade 16, the Blade 18. These are not as good. I'd give them about an 8. So they're just kind of maybe a little above average compared to most gaming laptops. But if you set the fans to quiet mode, they're still loud enough to where you could play games on them. No spatial audio left and right, or not much spatial audio left, right. And if you have the fans on max, it kind of drowns out the audio of the speakers. But the speakers are loud enough. They can fill a small room with some audio, but they're not super high quality. They're a bit tinny. There's not that much bass. So just your basic laptop speakers, I think. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this review helpful. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I'm really impressed with the Omen. I got to give it like a 9 out of 10 overall from a laptop perspective. It's got good inputs. It's got good mouse pad, good trackpad, good feel to the keyboard. The per key RGB is nice. The display is nice. The performance was very good. The temperatures in the multi-core CPU is probably the weakest area. And then the display not being as good as the competition is another weak area. Some high CPU temps, but overall the temps in gaming was very good. I like the software. The speakers are for the money. I wish the speakers were better. But as an overall package, for the money, it's excellent. That's the main thing. I think for the money, it's excellent. So, see ya. Bye-bye, everyone.